Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, community builder and podcaster. And we have a special guest. When we have more than one, it's always special, but this is a special. I met Shannon and we wanted to put together the team behind Acti-Kare who are serving the Gwinnett area. And we wanted to bring on you so you could get to know them better. So let's introduce each one. Since Michelle was the first one on, Michelle, introduce your name and just tell us who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll go to Shannon and then Makesia. Okay?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Larkins. I am the Business Development Manager at Acti-Kare, responsive in-home care. We service the Gwinnett Loganville community, and our base are seniors and also those with disabilities. I am responsible for the social media marketing, as well as connecting in the community. And we all have a heart for, this work. So we just support our director and the business.
Well, there's an old saying, together we're better. And that's a beautiful thing. So Shannon, introduce yourself and then we'll let people know who you are and who you serve in the organization.
I am Shannon Evans Walker. I'm also one of the business development managers. The area mostly we serve is Lawrenceville, Loganville, Grayson, Snellville, and Lilburn. I always get in Lilburn. I also get out in the community more, marketing, face-to-face, community events, partnering, find partnerships, and support the team as much as I can. I really try to wear as many hats as I possibly can to get maximum results for what we're driving for, and that's to help people, the vulnerable community. So it's definitely a passion of mine that started as a kid. I think we all had a personal experience with it, so it's the reason why we're here, and want to make a difference. We don't want to just be in any in-home care service. We want to be one of the top ones that you can count on.
That is awesome. Thank you, Shannon.
My pleasure.
And Makesia, would you introduce yourself? You're the leader of our team, so please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Peter. My name is Makesia Boyd, and I am the area director for Acti-Kare of East Gwinnett, which Shannon gave you the locations. And she touched on, yes, I started this business because my mom had dementia, and seeing the need for providers was the reason why I got into this business. And I have a passion for helping people. I want to make sure that, especially our vulnerable community, they get everything that they need with someone with a smile on their face who is happy to help them and make sure they get everything that they need. So that's why we started this business.
I love it. I was telling Michelle before you all came on, is I had an experience. I was at Overture, and the average, it was 55 and older. But what I didn't realize, it was average age was over 80. So we saw kind of the end of life and that precious time. And I remember a couple, they would come to breakfast holding hands. It was just beautiful. And then dementia hit, and it totally changed him because of just how it was affecting his behavior, the relationship. He had to go into a separate facility, a veterans facility, and he closed his eyes and was just that in that anger mindset, I guess. And he never, he passed soon after that. So it is a horrible thing. It hits quick. I've had people on my show that, directed. What do you think when you're serving that community? Let's go with Makesia first. When you're serving that community, what's that need out there? What can you tell our audience and our community? How do you see yourself serving that population?
Well, the way I see myself serving that population is every day someone is turning 65 every day. And to get out there and make sure that that community has a wealth of information. So to be in their presence and to just soak all of that information up, that history, um, it's an honor. It really is an honor.
Mhm.
And I see myself um, being a part of that community to help steer them, provide resources, whatever they need, to the best of my ability. So I see myself as a partner
Mhm.
in the community to help our seniors, transition the most peaceful way that they can.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love how you shared that. I do. I could see that in the community. It was a beautiful community, and that end of I call it the last chapter is a beautiful one, but having that assistance, having that help, having that support, because you lose certain things, and it's so important to have a person come alongside them or more to be able to assist them in that journey. Michelle, when you became involved, what was your reason to want to be involved with Makesia and be involved in this community of
Yes, well,
seniors?
first and foremost, I know Makesia, and she is a phenomenal person. She
Mm-hmm.
has a true and sincere heart, and I wanted to be a part of that. Just knowing that her being the leader of something like this, it means so much to her. It means so much to me. I'm a caregiver to my mother,
Mm-hmm.
and about 2.5 years ago, she had two strokes and brain surgery, and so she went from uh, being in ICU and bedbound, not able to do anything. And she's currently in recovery. And so I am personally in this position. I felt like it was definitely God inspired to be in this
Mm-hmm.
position to be a helper and to be a servant in this way, because I know what it feels like. One of my jobs as giving exposure and being a part of social media is normalizing that we do need the help, that families are burnt out, that giving this type of care to the loved one is also giving that care to the family and to the people who love that loved one. And if we really want to set our families up for success, if we want to set our loved ones up for success, then we need these services, because it's literally the difference between that person recovering and being in the best possible position that they can be in to have whatever type of independence that they need to have, because you have that support. You have someone coming in that cares, that's providing this very personal service, because anybody can come in there. But I know Makesia has those people that are coming in that have a heart and a passion to do what they do. And they're
Mm-hmm.
coming in with that personal touch. And they're coming in fulfilling those needs, those very necessary things that those families and that loved one need, and that's going to make a totally different um, difference when it comes to the outcome of the families being burnt out, the outcome of the loved one getting the care that they rightfully need. They've lived their life serving their families and others, and it's time for us to put those services in place to help serve them.
That is so good. Thank you for that, because I do agree with you. And it's so important to come alongside and help and support and provide any care that's needed. What do you think, Shannon, when you were like thinking of things to do, what drew you to work with Makesia and serve our seniors in this way?
Well, when she told me about it, it had been a time before that, even a few months before that, I was like, I'm missing something. It's something, because I'm so used to getting out helping people, whether it was in the restaurant industry or in the hospital, or I've also worked in home care myself for 16 years. I helped take care of my grandmother for 4 years. So it was just something I felt was missing. So when she told me she was going to do that, I said, that's it. I said, that's it. I said, I want to help. How can I help? What you need me to do? So I felt that filled the void that I was
Hmm.
missing. I just felt like I needed something to do to give back in some type of way. Everywhere I am, I see the youth. I'm always encouraging them, or opening doors for the elderly or something. So this give me hands on, to do that, and it just felt that peace that I needed. So I'm grateful to her, and I've been knowing her for a little while, in another aspect. But now
Hmm.
I'm getting closer, and I see the same thing, Michelle. Just genuine heart, passion, and she was made to do this. This was her purpose to start this business, and the people that she selected are where they're supposed to be. So I'm grateful to be a part of this team, and thank you so much. I
That is,
appreciate you, Keisha.
that is beautiful.
Michelle, thank you, and you, Pete, for having us. For
Yeah.
me,
Oh, I
thank you.
really, I mean, my mom lived to be 95, and
Wow.
I saw that last, you know, couple years of just that precious time.
Mm,
She ended up staying in her home, and it was because
mm,
one of my brothers lived with her for the last
mm,
year, and my sister's a nurse, and my other sister is kind of like a nurse. So it does take so much
yeah.
of the if the family to come together, but sometimes the family that they don't have an extended family,
Right.
so it take no, they don't have an immediate family, so
Mhm.
they need an extended
Yeah.
family to come alongside them. So, Makesia, what do you think in building a team like you're building and serving? You get worn out at times. How do you maintain your energy? Because it's a very demanding industry. And I've seen, where there's challenges of managing our energy, managing our health, because we're giving so much. We're putting ourselves out there so much. How do you manage that?
Pete, I don't know if you can feel the energy of those two on my team.
I can.
And I hire based off of basically that blueprint. My
Hmm.
team is dynamic. They make me be better every day. They
Hmm.
challenge me because they look up to me and they expect certain things of me. They expect a level of excellence that um, I have to deliver on. So
Hmm.
they are full of energy, and the passion that they have for this work, it's it's huge. It's tremendous. Like they're I can't really really put it into words how all hours I'm getting emails about things. Well, can we do this? The ideas,
Hmm.
they just have a burning desire to serve this community, and it makes me better to see that. It's
Yes.
like it's my business, but they really have a passion to help and to
Yes.
push me to be better, to
Hmm.
show that level of excellence that um we need to give to our this community because they need it. Pete, some of the this community that we serve, they don't have family. We're it.
Hmm.
We're their
Yes.
family. So
Yes.
we have to show a level of patience and kindness that some of this community isn't getting. So like I said, that's an honor to be in the position to provide that help, provide that
Mm-hmm.
service, to be that friend, that granddaughter. When I was in college, I adopted a grandparent. I would go
Mm-hmm.
to the community center near my college and brush this lady's hair, and she would sing.
Mm.
And that was feeding my heart all the way back then. So, I just enjoy the work. And like I said, my team is dynamic. both Michelle and Shannon. They are amazing ladies and they work very hard. They have other businesses. I hope you give them an opportunity to talk about their businesses a little bit, but they are amazing women. And I am so lucky that they are on my team and help me to make this business a success.
Ooh, that is beautiful. You know, you said something, I will give them an opportunity. And maybe it's like separately, they can come back on and be a guest and we can dig deeper into that journey to give people a better idea of who they are, what they're doing, and how they think. You said singing, and there was a gentleman that spoke at our live event, and he is in the choir for his church. And he said they go out and they sing to senior centers. And he said that it's so beautiful to see. They come in, they don't really know exactly what's going on from a standpoint why they're there. Then he says once they would start singing, he said you could just see the joy coming out because you know they were hearing songs they loved and they were just
Right.
kind of lighting up like a light bulb. And
Yeah.
so it just, you know, it's, you know, group coming in, providing something that just lights up their heart and what a difference it makes.
Right.
So, Michelle, it is hard out there because there's a lot of noise. How do you like approach each day? What's your thoughts? Like, how am I gonna, you know, make an impact, make our organization kind of get people to see us more? What do you try to do in that role?
Yes, I really put myself into it because I am actively a caregiver. So I know what it feels like. I know the joys of seeing, you know, your mother make her steps. You know, I see the joys. I see the recovery period. I feel the burnout when, you know, my sisters and I, we rotate with our mother. And when something happens and then you have to be there for 3 weeks instead of 1 week, you know, or, you know, so I put myself into this. So the messaging or the marketing comes from my heart. Like it comes from me knowing what this community is feeling. You know, it's um, like you were talking about the light bulb moments, you know, knowing that there are very low times
Mm-hmm.
in caregiving, but there are very high times in caregiving, and being able to see that this service is needed. Um, it's like a joy to be able to say, "Hey, we're here and we're providing these services to this community, and it's needed." I think normalization in a lot of families is needed. You know, there's a lot of guilt around getting someone else into your space and then with your loved ones. There's a level of guilt that people feel, and I believe that if I can just convey the message of normalizing that and saying you don't have to feel guilty for loving on your loved one, you don't have to feel
Mm-hmm.
guilty for bringing in other help and other resources. Like this is a part of loving your loved one. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't take away from that. And just being fully transparent, like going through that in my own personal life. I feel like I can speak to that in the social media marketing. When I go out and working to get more partnerships, I can speak to
Mm-hmm.
that because I'm currently going through it, and so I understand what that is like. So I try to convey that in not a very generic way, but I try to convey that with my heart, so that when people read and they see that media, they see that marketing, they're like, "Oh, I identify with that." This isn't just someone saying, "Yeah, I need these services," and we come out and we do this, but it's like, no, the heart of the people matter. You know, it's one thing to have family members to come in and to help, but it's another thing to have people that you don't know come into your space, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a challenge. That's a barrier, and so that's what we have to speak to. Is that we have a director that's hiring the best people.
Yeah.
This is not just another in-home service. You know, the quality matters. You know, there are probably thousands, if not millions, of um, stores that you can go to, but we know the ones that are high level. We know the ones that when you come in, you're going to get the best service, you're going to get the best product.
Yes.
And so with Acti-Kare under Makesia, that is what we're trying to let our base know, that we're here, we're
Yes.
qualified, we have the heart and the passion for it, and you need to give this to your loved one, and you need to give this to yourself.
Yes.
So we serve more than just that loved one. We're serving the community. We're serving the families. We're serving the organizations. You know, we're serving so many different people, and so that
Yes.
to me, that is my mission. That is my job, is to convey that to any and everyone, because any and everyone knows someone that need these services.
Yes.
Yes. That is so well said. I I spoke at a senior facility about 6 months ago, and I speak wherever, I have an opportunity, and it's on the four human drivers, and it's meaningful purpose, connections, personal growth provides that aliveness. And speak to me, Shannon, if you could, like relationships. How do you value those? Because it's so important that we stay connected. We're in a world that's moving fast, and we sometimes think social media is social. It's media, but it's
Right.
that human connections
Yes.
that matter. How do you lean into those relationships and those connections with your community?
Like I said, I like to go out and mingle. I want to say the VA community is one of my favorite
Mhm.
because I mean all of them are needed. Don't get me wrong, but because they sacrifice so much for us, and there's a lot of things that we don't understand about what they went through, and so just hearing the stories and being there for them in that way and understanding all of the scene about everything they went through and why they did what they did, and it's just fulfilling to hear this somebody, God created these special people to go out and dedicate their lives to protect us, people who they don't even know. And
Mhm.
then also going into the nursing homes and just sitting there holding their hands and looking in their eyes and just listening, because a lot of the times they just want to be heard. They just want to be heard,
Yes.
good, bad, and the ugly. And if you can look into their eyes and make them feel like you understand, and it makes a world of difference in their lives. And you were saying something about one of your friends or colleagues had passed away, and how they just looked empty and they were angry as they were passing. We want to avoid that. We want to avoid that. Life is about not just living, but being fulfilled. And even
Yes.
if it wasn't fulfilled, the first 10 years of your life, for the first 20, like, we want to fulfill the last, years that we come in, that can make a world of difference. It could erase a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, so like she said, like Michelle and Makesia were saying, just having those right people in the right places, to be there and be compassionate from their heart makes a huge difference. A huge difference. Like I said, I started this as a child. I was 12 when my grandmother came to live with my great grandmother came to live with. She was 93. And I, it was rough for me to understand, at a time, but my grandparents, it was my grandmother's mother, so she was sickly too. So I was taking care of her and taking care of my great grandmother. Like, I was kind of like a teenage mother, because she had to get a bath, she had to have food, and I had to go to school, and I had to, before school, I had to make sure it was after school before she went to bed. So, and I did that for 4 years. And so, once I got into schooling and that didn't work out, I ended up going back into the home health, because I'm like, okay, this is what I think I'm supposed to be doing. And then it got a little rough, because you go through phases and you go through hospice and you build relationship with the family and you get so close. It's like, okay, I was about I want to say 28 when I stopped doing it. That was my first time experiencing, that experience when someone takes their last breath. That was very hard on me. And so that kind of took me out of the position. That kind of took me out. But then again, all of those years, I kept feeling like I need to be back. I need to do this. I have to. That's just a part of life, that. And as you get older, you understand that. And now I'm ready to face that again, with a better understanding of how it's not about me, it's about them, and they need that, especially at that moment. I experienced that with my mother, about 8 years ago. She took her last breath, so that was another life-changing thing because it was actually, my mother. So now
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to take it on, 360, in the life, and whatever they need us, whatever they need me to do. So I'm ready to dive in and get in more into community, get into the schools and talk to the younger community that's coming in, that's getting into this field, and educating them about, what the full thing is about, taking care of people. It's not just a job. It's not just a career. It's about passion. You cannot, and I'm gonna say this: you cannot be in the medical field in any type of way and not have compassion for helping people. It's not just a
Yeah.
job. It's not just any job. You have to have
Mm-hmm.
a strong desire to help people in this field. That's just my belief.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, that's a
Yeah.
good one, and I totally agree. There's a gentleman that I've known for the last few years, and when I had him on my podcast a couple of years ago, I was taken by his intentionality of bringing our youth together with our seniors, and
yes.
so he works with them to really understand. Now, yes, if we have that journey where we have a loved one that we care for,
Mhm.
it's easier to understand our aging parents, our aging relatives. But if we
Right.
don't, we don't sometimes understand that. And he brings them together, Leonard Abbott, and he just kind of gives our youth a really look at what's precious in life and how they can serve.
Right.
Mhm.
My question to you, Makesia, is it's if I bump into you and we're having a conversation, say at a grocery store, and
Mhm.
it's on purpose, what would you say your purpose at this time of your life do you feel drives you and motivates you and helps you to show up with the highest of standards? What would you share with me?
So to go back a little bit to what Shannon is saying, um, to be there when someone is taking their last breath, to be
Hmm.
there to let them know that it's okay. We all have an expiration date and we're not given any notice.
Mhm.
So we just have to live our life to the best of our abilities,
Hmm.
and to hold their hand and let them know that I am there. I'm there with them, and I will support them in any way that I need to. That it's an honor to me to help them pass peacefully, to
Hmm.
transition peacefully.
Yes.
So that's what I'm here for, to serve my community, especially that population, to the best of my ability,
Yeah.
to be that kind face, that smile that they need
Hmm.
at the time that they need it.
Mhm.
It
Hmm.
gives me great joy to go into a community center and hang out with the elderly community, our senior population. They're a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and they crack me up.
Yes.
So it's beautiful to be able to do that. And
Yes.
even the grumpy ones, they're hysterical as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You can bring a smile to even the people that don't have that general joyful, approach. And you can bring that joy to them when you meet them with a level of joy that just helps them, because because of aging creates our challenges, our physical bodies are getting older, And it's not the easiest thing when the aches and pains are hitting each day to approach it like maybe we approach it where we don't have that just yet. But we're all going to get there because there's nothing in technology that allows us to live forever. It's going to be, you're right. There is an expiration date we all have, and we don't know when it's coming. But to do it with love, care, and joy and dignity, it makes a significant difference. I'm in a Rotary Club, and I had a gentleman that joined after he retired, and he read this book, Repacking Your Bags, and I ended up reading it. And it talked about, like, when people retire, if they don't re-engage and do something different and start learning something, that they decline and they go down. No. How do you, this will be for Michelle, how do you stay growing personally? What do you do to keep that path, keep that fire, keep that excitement going?
Yes, well, I would say that I believe in prayer, meditation. When I wake up in the morning, I have so much gratitude, and I'm very intentional about what I'm grateful for. And what I notice is that it's the things that can't be bought. It's love, it's the ability to have experiences and to learn and to grow. It's those times with loved ones. It's those times that you're helping to serve. Those are the things that I'm so much grateful for. And so I feel like doing those things, keeping my body moving, taking care of myself in that way, being connected to myself, knowing how I feel, and learning to be more honest with how I feel and attending to how I feel. And that's something I'm still working on. But it's just always being teachable. It's always being open for experience and opportunity. That's why I'm so grateful for having the opportunity, like Shannon was saying, and Makesia has conveyed, that we get to serve. We get to be there in people's highs and lows of life. We get to be a smile on people's face. We get to share what we're doing. We get to partner with people who need this partnership with us. And so I think that's the thing that drives me every day on a personal and professional level. It's just staying centered and grounded and learning to just have a lot of gratitude and just being connected to myself and to others. And just because I believe that is the whole purpose we're here on this earth. It's about service to others. And that's why we need each other. And that's why we do what we do.
I love it, man. That was really well said. I just, you mentioned the word meditation and prayer, and I do both. And there's a I don't know who said it, but the person was sharing how prayer actually rewires our brain. So if we're in prayer, and especially meditation, because if you would have told me I would be a person that meditated 10 years ago, I would say you're crazy, because I could sit down and really get that joy out of meditation and prayer that you get when you start on that journey. Because it's easy. It's really hard, because if you have an active brain, which I was born with, calming down, making sure it's not as noisy as the outside world. It's a process. What would you say, Shannon? Like, how do you approach that personal? Like, what do you do to help recharge your battery and continue that path of growth?
Definitely prayer. I wake up in the morning and definitely that's my main goal. We have to start our day off with that. That determines how your day is going to be. That's just my opinion. So I definitely give thanks to God for waking me up. I have these things on my mirror, and when I wake up in the morning in the bathroom, that reminds me of things I say every day to get my day started. I read my word. It's just a worship. I have on worship music. Music is it's very recharging and filling. So I listen to a lot of music all day that get me through. If I'm cleaning or whatever. That's another way I relate to the elderly community. I'm kind of an old soul. I like, old cars, old movies, old music. I kind of wish I was kind of born around that time, for the music and the way things in the 50s, the 20s, if I can go back in time just for that. So, I relate to them a lot because they're like, how do
Yeah.
you know this music? How do I love all types of music. And so,
Yes.
that's a lot that get me through the day. Relaxing as much as possible, trying to go back to the spa soon. Um,
Yes.
that's something I hadn't done in a while, and I didn't realize how much I needed it and how much I needed. So, especially women, as we age, we have to do more self care than others. Taking walks, that's very important. Stretching, I try to do that every single day. And stretching, walking. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, food. Food is another way, but I try to, do just creating food. For me, like cooking, that's another. Baking, that's another way I relax and I enjoy creating in general. So being artistic in any form of fashion. Um, just this, I'm excited to help build this business, and as we get new people coming in and build these relationships with all of them, not just one group or one. Like I said, I do like the VA community. That's just one of my favorites, but all of them, I just like that the older community. I just have so much respect for them, and I'm just excited about this whole journey that Makesia starting. So I'm excited. So that's why I gotta stay recharged for them.
Yeah.
For them, so
Beautiful.
stay motivated.
That is beautiful. Makesia, what prepared you for this moment to build this team? Because I'm sure the community is seeing how wonderful two of your team members are. What prepared you for this? What did you do, and how did you get ready for this moment?
Um, well, first, I am a mother. First, no, that's not first. First, I'm a believer. Like
Mhm.
Shannon and Michelle, I start my day with prayer as well and meditation. And that is the foundation for how I start anything. So
Mhm.
we're gonna start there. Secondly, I'm a mother, and
Mhm.
being a mother teaches you how to. That's the best form of being a project manager because you got to manage all three of these. Well, your schedule as well as all of their schedules.
Yes.
You got to make sure
Yes.
that the wheels stay on the bus and the bus is still moving. So I think, and just being human, right? Just living in this world, as Michelle, to touch on a little bit of what Michelle was saying, we were all put here to love and care for each other.
Yeah.
So just understanding that assignment, right, um, helped to prepare me for this. As long as I am giving back to another person, another human being,
Mhm.
that feeds my soul.
Yes.
So that is the fuel for the fire and
Mm.
the fuel for taking care of myself so that I'm able to do that because in my mind there's nobody who can do it better. So I have to
Yes.
take care of myself to make sure that I am firing on all cylinders, providing the best level of care. My strive is excellence, not perfection, but excellence to my community.
Mm. I met so many people that they had raised their kids. They had, they were empty nesters and they were ready to step back in to the workforce, and they came back into senior care more. Maybe that's because I was, involved in that community and I saw it more, but you're right. you're managing all these schedules, you're doing so many things. It does prepare you for a chapter that, even though you've been out of the workforce for 20 years, whatever it was, they step back in with such incredible skills of being able to care for, because they care for their kids, they manage their schedules, they did all the things that are very difficult to do, but they did it, and now they're stepping back in and being incredibly successful in that role because of how being a mom prepared them for that next chapter. I have one question for each of you, because I want to be respectful of times, because I know that y'all are out there serving and being involved in the community, and being on this podcast doesn't allow us to serve our community like we want to. So I have one question for each of you, and then we'll go to some final thoughts. So Michelle, what would you want our viewers to take home from this time on this podcast? What would be the one thought you would want them to take home?
Accept the help. Accept the help. There have been times in my life that I'll share something. I'll try to make it as brief as possible. But I became a young widower. I was 36. My husband of 10 years was killed in a motorcycle accident by a drunk driver. And that was the first situation that I was broken, and I didn't know what to do. With all of my faith and my relationship with God, I was just broken. That was one of the hardest things that I had ever gone through in my life, before my mom had the stroke and before I had lost my grandmother, because I had a very close relationship with her. She died when she was 101. Wow. But one thing, there were so many days I didn't want to get out the bed. There were so many days I didn't want to receive the help. People would call, people would text, and I made a promise to myself. I said, if anyone is here trying to be of help and service to me, it doesn't matter how horrible I feel, I will let them in. And me doing that allowed me to come out of a depression. It helped me in my recovering. It helped in my grieving. It helped in me being able to bounce back to myself. And I think that is what I would want to convey to any and all people, is accept the help. This is God in human form helping you. When someone is saying, I'm here to serve you, I am here to help you, I am here to provide the gift that God has given me to give to you, accept it, because that will pull you out of whatever situation that you're in. Like Makesia was saying, we are here to help each other. I don't believe that we as humans would be on this earth if it wasn't for the people, if it wasn't for the community. And me following that one rule, that was the one rule. No matter how much I didn't want to climb out of bed, no matter how much I didn't want to go on that lunch date, I made that promise to myself. If anyone comes and they say that they want to do something for me in that way, I would do it. I would say yes. I would cry through it. I would pull myself out of it. But that's what our community needs to hear, is like, you need the help. Yes. So accept the help. This is us fulfilling our mission. This is us fulfilling the thing that fuels us, because it's so infectious. Fulfilling your mission or fulfilling your calling is a blessing to that other person, but it's also a blessing to you.
Yes.
And that's what I would say, is accept the help.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I think back on my journey, is whenever I got in that depression and that bad spot, it was because I isolated. I pulled back and didn't accept that. And You're right. I'm the same, like intentional to build that community, to build that connection, to, reach out because, together we're better, but isolation is not a good thing. And it's
Right.
whether you're
It's not.
senior community or just in life, we're born to connect. We're born to have those relationships. And
Mhm.
so thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing.
And
What
I
would
can
you say?
truly say, and I'm
Yes.
sorry, I wanted to add this, and I can
No.
truly say that if I would not have accepted the help, my therapist told me, the reason why you are getting through your grieving in such a way, because I was almost shocked, like, am I supposed to be okay? Like,
Mhm.
how am I okay now? And she was like, because you faced it, you accepted the help, you opened yourself up, you let people in. And now I'm happily married, coming on 7 years, because I
Mm,
opened myself up to be able to love again. I opened
Mhm.
myself up to be
yes.
able to live again. So it does. Accepting the help is the difference of you surviving versus you thriving.
Amen.
And
Yes.
that's the thing I think that, when we're going through things, we don't realize that. But if we would just open ourselves up and accept the help, then our
Hmm.
life can actually be far better than what we could even have imagined.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you for that and sharing that. Shannon, what would there be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from this podcast?
Well, to switch the gears to the families, minimize the regrets. There's a few people that I know right now that having regrets that they didn't, do things with their loved ones that they would have. They didn't, value them as they should have, and now they're not here anymore. And so now they're, you know, the kids feel it. Just pass on to the kids, and how they're feeling, and it could be a generational thing. So just simple as just making new memories. There may be some things that their loved ones wanted to do that they never had the opportunity to do. Spending time with them, cooking for them once a week. Different families can rotate doing different things for them.
Yes.
Taking them to see a movie or anything that they enjoy doing, for as long as possible, just making as many memories as possible. Because once they're not here anymore, you know, you're gonna be regretful and feel ashamed or feel some type of way. And like I said, this can pass on. This could be a generational thing. People don't understand how grief can affect the family, and some of this is things that we can change if we just make the right decisions. And that's doing what we're supposed to do, honoring our elders, honoring our loved ones, being there for them, especially in their time of need. But you know even when they're not in need, even before they get to that stage, now before they get to the point where they need caregiving, before that, now is the time that they need it the most. So when that time comes, like she said, like Michelle said, they can accept the help. They won't feel these regrets. They
Yes.
won't feel like time's pass and I didn't get to do this and I didn't get to do that. So just love on them, minimize the regrets, be there for them, make new memories. Allow your young kids or grandkids, children, whatever, to hear the stories. Learn about the
Hmm.
past, because that's just
Yeah.
so important. you know I know a friend of mine now, and and I ask questions about. I'm like, how was your, this or where they from? I don't know. They never know anything. I'm like, now is the time to find these things out, because once they're gone, this history is going to go with them, and you
Yeah.
don't know. I'm sure they're willing to tell you if you just ask. So a lot of the time is just that we're not being attentive and making them feel like their life that they live was important. They have a lot of I ask a lot of questions to my elders, like I want to know, about the past,
Yes.
because again, I'm intrigued by the past, because the past shapes our future. So it's very important to keep those lines of communication and get out there and just make them, love on them, and get into those conversations, get the young ones to learn about the elderly, so they'll have a better respect for the future, respect for the elderly community, like you were saying earlier, Pete, about getting the youth involved with the elderly. I think that's very important. That may be something that we can kind of bridge Acti-Kare, kind of find some type of mentorship or partnership with a youth group to go in. And when I was in elementary school, in middle school, I was in chorus, and we would go to the senior communities and sing every holiday, and like you said, they lit up. It just, those little things it meant so much to them. So just
Yeah.
imagine what you do, the families can do, and you don't have to all take all that the responsibility on yourself. You spread it out. One week this person does this, one week. That's just so very important to love on them and give them the time that they deserve while they're here.
I love that. I being in this kind of business where I do a lot of podcasts, I would my mom, who lived up in Richmond, when I would go see her the last few years, I would interview her just to get her stories out. And it's the most precious, because the great grandkids won't have an opportunity sometimes to meet their great grandmother. And so now I have those stories, and I learned, I would say, like, oh, I thought you were from Philly. You were born in Philly. I was a Jersey girl, and it was like, being gone, and not being around as much as my other brothers and sisters. There was things I was learning that I just didn't know about my mom. But like you're talking about, being intentional, because life is precious and it's shorter than we think. So, enjoying those moments and, hearing those stories and being able to have that to pass on is a special, special thing. So what would you say, okay, I'm losing my tongue here. Makesia, what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
You're not alone. You have a community to that got your back. We got your back. So give us a call and we will do everything in our power to make sure that your loved one is receiving the proper care, and you can have peace and know that they are being, as Shannon would say, loved on. We like to treat our clients like their family, because we wouldn't want anyone going into our home not providing a certain level of care for our own family. So that's how we approach every patient. We want them to receive the absolute best care that we can provide. So I'll just give you a short story. We
Please
have a
share.
client who the daughter needed help with, she needed a real estate agent as well, because you're dealing with, she has her own family, so she needed a estate planning attorney. She needed a real estate. So those are outside of my duties as her home care provider, but I try to build a network of like-minded business owners who will provide the same level of service that I provide. So we try to be a resource as well as a partner if we're caring for your loved one. So I was able to connect her with other people who provide excellent service to her and to give her peace. So she didn't have to go and interview a whole bunch of other people while she's dealing with the stress of losing her father.
Yes.
So just know that you're not alone.
Yes.
That's good.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And then you're right about there's so many things. I always believe in asking people who they would recommend to help, as opposed to, before my stroke, I was in digital marketing. So I understand how that world works. And, when you need something, you Google it and you go out and you find, but you're trying to find people that might not be the best fit for them, because, if you're good at putting the review, putting stuff out there, it doesn't always tell us the whole story. But when you refer somebody because you trust them, you like them, you know that they'll provide that, it's a whole lot better than finding somebody just, by searching online for that person. So that is good to come to help with resources and people that can assist them in that journey. So I want you to tell, Makesia, if you could tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you guys?
So I like to always have a personal touch.
Mhm.
So my clients can reach me. You want me to give the phone number? My
Yes,
phone number
yeah.
is 470-915-8111. I tried to keep it as sweet and simple and easy to remember as possible. And you can always find me on www.acticare.com. So the minute you
Okay.
put your zip code in, it'll pop right up your face.
That is beautiful. We'll put that in the show notes too. And I want to encourage our viewers, as you've been involved in this podcast and you're hearing from a wonderful team. So if you know people that are on that side of town or in that area, and you want somebody to help and come alongside your loved one, share this video with them so they can find the best team to help your loved one and your family member in that that stage of their life. So thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for taking the time to share with our community y'all's journey, your heart. Oh, there, hey, that's a beautiful sign because hey, time is like, hey, they're asking, need us, they need us, they're calling us. So thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you sharing your story and your journey with our community.
And I just want to say thank you to you for inviting us.
Yes, thank
It was
you.
really
Thank you.
we enjoyed spending time and getting to know you. So thank you for that.
Hey,
Thank
it's my
you.
pleasure. Shannon is the one. She was like, we had a wonderful conversation. And so, I ask people from time to time, not everybody takes the advantage of a wonderful time to have a conversation, but Shannon did. And I appreciate you putting the team together because seeing everybody makes a difference. It's just not one person behind the business, it's a team. And they got a chance to really get to know y'all. And so it was my pleasure to do that. Thank you, Shannon, for
Thank you.
doing this together. All right. Y'all have a wonderful
You
week and a
too.
wonderful day. And thanks for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for what you do as well.